Hello and welcome everybody to today's edition of Breaking News Business here at Mexico News Network. I'm your host, Elliot Bullman. Remember to follow us on all our social networks and to catch us every day by logging onto our website, mexiconewsnetwork.com, for relevant stories and news. Let's start with today's show. Grain production in the US has increased considerably in recent years, and with this growth, the distribution of corn in Mexico has also increased. Now, Mexico is primed to overtake Japan as the single largest US corn importer, knocking Tokyo from the perch it has occupied since the mid-1980s and taking the top spot for the first time ever. The shift illustrates how the United States, once the world's lone grain trading superpower, is now relying on its southern neighbor to absorb more of its ever-growing stockpile, analysts said, as rising suppliers like Ukraine and Brazil have disrupted global trade flows. Increased imports from Mexico have helped offset the weak demand from traditional customers in Asia, such as South Korea and Japan, who have decreased their purchases due to the strong US dollar. Now Mexico could become the largest importer of US corn, displacing Japan, which has held that spot since the mid-1980s. The US dollar has rallied to a 3-month high against a basket of currencies after Britain's vote last week to split from the European Union, making dollar-denominated commodities costlier for those holding other currencies. When Asian buyers started shunning US corn last fall, some of the largest American grain exporters and sellers scouted markets closer to home to offset the losses. Mexico, traders said, was an obvious place to pitch due to proximity and favorable trade status, and US exports are currently relying more on Mexico to absorb rising stocks of corn before the advance of competing countries like Ukraine and Brazil, which have impacted the market. Last year, US corn exports reached $8.3 billion, and Mexico is a favorite place to promote sales due to proximity and favorable trade conditions. Around a third of total US maize production is used in the production of ethanol for use as biofuel, which is becoming an increasingly popular alternative to regular gasoline in Mexico. In other headlines, lately there's been a lot of attention and importance given to agro-industrial waste to provide a new process for material synthesis. In many cases, its application is in the biomedical area, such as in the case of bone substitute made from rice husk. Specialists from the Applied Science and Technological Development Center from UNAM in Mexico have created a synthesized material from the ashes of rice husk that could be a substitute for bone. This synthetic material can derive many benefits, and since it's obtained at a lower temperature than other materials, and the fact that it comes from agro-industrial waste, medical input costs will be lowered, far bettering the cost-benefit. The end result is a bioglass that can favor the cell's work, giving scientists the structure and composition for bone regeneration to occur. If it works, the bioglass substitutes will become permanent because the material gets reabsorbed while the cells reconstruct the bone. The first successful surgical use of bioglass was a treatment of conductive hearing loss. Other common uses are in cones for implantation into the jaw following a tooth extraction. A bone substitute like bioglass is one of the most studied to regenerate bone loss from different causes, usually either because of disease or accidents. It's fascinating to see how science is taking greener routes. At the end, it's something that will benefit us all. Moving on, VivaColombia will open new flight routes from Medellin, which will be fully operational by the second half of 2016 due to great demands from Colombians wishing to travel and enjoy Caribbean beaches. The airline's motto for them to be profitable is that flights should be low cost, so they continue to promote their flights towards the destination. They're making arrangements for June, August and December, which are considered the busiest months for scheduled flights in Colombia. 3 airlines received the approval of Colombia's Civil Aeronautic Management to operate 16 new national and international routes at the start of the year. Out of all the airlines that work with these destinations, Copa and Avianca operate 15 direct flights per week with a 75% occupation rate, which makes it far more profitable for these flights. VivaColombia kept 13 of these assigned routes, which 4 of them are international flights: Medellin Cancun, Medellin Cali Panama Cali, Bogotá Curaçao Bogotá, and Bogotá Santo Domingo Bogotá. For the second half of 2016, high season is around the corner for VivaColombia, and the time for its new routes to operate from Medellin to Cancun, with 4 flights per week on an Airbus A380 designed for 180 people. Last year, at the Fair of International Tourism of Colombia, they made agreements between businessmen, wholesalers, and tour operators for the marketing of attractive packages for tourists, where quality was not compromised by lowered prices. Yet another entrance for an untapped and potentially strong market in Latin America, Mexico opens its doors to diversify an already very diverse culture in tourism. Cuauhtemoc Moctezuma Heineken announced a few days ago that one of their new goals is that 2/3 of the electricity they use in Mexico is to come from renewable sources. The company has decided to take this course of action because of the commitment made in the energy reform, which states that 35% of energy should come from clean technologies, and is now evaluating local firms to become suppliers as part of its strategy for 2020. Blanca Brambila, sustainability manager of the company, said that people in operations are evaluating different companies that will produce energy through renewable sources. They're looking at different options of supplier. In 2015, the company invested about 140 million pesos in processes and best practices of the 6 plants that it operates, as well as in malting and in ice maker. In addition to that, it allocated 81 million pesos to social responsibility. The company has based its strategy in 6 basis points: water protection, reducing CO2 emissions, local suppliers, intelligent consumption, health and safety, and community education. For 2020, they expect to reduce carbon emissions by 40% in the production chain, 50% in cooling, and 20% in distribution. During 2014, the company was using 3.4 litres of water per litre of beer, compared to its international standard of 3.7 litres. But in 2015, the figure actually reduced to 3.3 in Mexico. This saving equates to 3.8 million cubic meters per year, which is the average annual consumption of more than 15,000 Mexican families. They also planted trees on 130 hectares in the basin of the San Juan River in Nuevo León. And finally, in economics, the Mexican peso increased to 1.56% to 18.71 from 18.43 in the previous trading session. The peso changed negative 0.5% during the last week, plus 44% during the last month, and plus 18.65% during the last year. Mexico's IPC index increased 0.3% to 46,344 on Monday, July the 4th, from 46,206 in the previous trading session. Mexico IPC index changed plus 4.66% during the last week, plus 0.91% during the last month, and plus 2.84% during the last year. This was all for today. Thank you for staying with us. I'm your host, Elliot Bullman, and remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. Log on to www.mexiconewsnetwork.com for more information on Mexico and the world. Until next time.